The iPhone 14 Plus looks like it's going to be the perfect iPhone to get this year. So what's it all about? Let's find out. And while we're finding out, I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Squarespace. Apple, no kidding, 5 seconds ago ended their September event, and we learned all about the iPhone, the AirPods, all sorts of new things. But of all the things they talked about today, I think the iPhone 14 Plus is gonna be the phone to get. Minis look like they're gonna be gone, but as we go through today and spec out and order an iPhone 14 Plus, you're gonna see this is the one to get. You can see here it's got all sorts of brand new colors. We've got Midnight, the new blue, starlight, purple, and red. Now I would say of all of the colors, the weakest are gonna be the purple and the blue. I don't know, Apple changes the blue color every year, and I feel like blue was so good a few years ago, and now it just kind of like drops off over time. The one that I'll be getting is the starlight. We learned from the Midnight MacBook Air that Midnight is just not my color. I think I'm gonna go with starlight, but it is nice to see that we get all those cool colors. Longest battery life ever. When we get to those tech specs, I cannot wait to see what the iPhone 14 Plus can do because it's going to be wild. Emergency SOS via satellite. I don't want to oversell it, folks, but I have tried to set up SATCOM communications in the middle of nowhere, and it sucks. What they talked about for the satellite communication from the phone, that's like actual futuristic stuff. So let's talk about the specifics of the phone. They did release the iPhone 14, but the iPhone 14 to me doesn't seem like that big of an upgrade. If I were gonna get an iPhone 14, maybe I would personally try to save some money and get a 13 from last year. Maybe I could find it on sale. But the iPhone 14 Plus is a 6.7-inch phone. Looks really good. Comes with aerospace grade aluminum. What I really hope to see though, obviously we gotta wait till we get it in our hands, but I would like to see that they took the matte side of the 13 standard and then the matte back, like that frosted glass back from the Pro line, and combine those into a phone that doesn't have a lot of fingerprint problems. The screen here will be a Super Retina XDR panel. And there's a lot of upgrades also with the cameras this year that I was really kind of impressed about. I wasn't expecting to see too much upgrades around the cameras. So there's a whole new with iOS 16, there's gonna be a whole new way to show like widgets and things on the front display. I think it's gonna be really great. I haven't been using iOS 16 because it's been in beta. I don't normally trust betas, but from what they showed, it looks like it's gonna be really cool. Okay, let's move on to the safety features because I think the safety features are really the kind of one of the headlining features, the most impressive thing that Apple showed off with the phones and the watches. We already talked about that they're going to do the satellite emergency communications though. The reason why I think this is so incredible is right here. One of the things about trying to communicate with satellites is satellites are always flying overhead, right? To talk to one of these satellites, your antenna has to be pointed at it, and that's really tough to do, but Apple's software is actually going to show you where to point the phone so that you can make sure you're getting your emergency communications through that satellite. Now, it looks like they will come with this free at first, but eventually it will be a paid service. But I think, oh, right here, emergency SOS via satellite is included with iPhone 14 for 2 years for free. I think that's pretty great. Now, like one of the things they mentioned here, texting via satellite takes time. In ideal conditions, you can send a message in less than 15 seconds. That's pretty impressive by itself, or up to a minute if you're under light foliage, which is if you're under a bunch of trees. You could also use this as one of the things I used to go on a lot of big like bike trips. I used to do a lot of triathlon training. Well, I used to have like a little spot device that I would set up an account with. My wife would know where I'm at all times, but now it looks like you can do that with Find My on your phone. So your phone will show your location via satellites, and now you don't have to buy another subscription service or carry around another thing. I think that's really awesome if you're gonna be somebody that goes, maybe you're hiking the AT, maybe you're doing a lot of mountaineering. Now, what I think is the most impressive is crash detection. I cannot believe, this is one of those features that how has nobody thought of this before? So what crash detection is, there's new sensors built into the phone and in the Apple Watches that will detect that you've been in an accident, and if you don't stop it because you're incapacitated, it will make an emergency call for you. Like I personally, if you've been a longtime viewer of this channel, a few years ago, I was in a motorcycle accident. It would have been really tough for me to make a call after that happened if I was by myself. Thankfully, somebody was there. They were able to contact the police. They got me an ambulance, stuff like that. But if I'd been by myself, crash detection would have been a huge boon for that. I really really think that this is going to be it's shocking that nobody has come up with this before. So it has, like I said, it's got new G-force accelerometers. It will tell cabin pressure changes. As a dad, like I'm a dad, right? I will absolutely be getting my kid when he gets his first cell phone. He's not old enough for a cell phone yet. I will ensure that whatever phone he gets has something like crash detection on it, because I'm always nervous about what's going to happen for him. Thanks to today's sponsor, Squarespace, you can create your own very beautiful website. Squarespace is the all-in-one platform to build a professional website, online store, or portfolio. It's easy to claim a domain/URL, create a custom site that matches your style, and bring your ideas to life. Head on over to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, head over to squarespace.com/everydaydad to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. A huge plus for battery life. Now we're coming to the 14 Plus. Look at that. 26 hours of video playback on the iPhone Plus. I called it here a few weeks ago that the iPhone 14 Plus would probably be the best battery life phone that Apple ever had, and who knew? I actually ended up being right. It doesn't have a lot of the same pro features of the screen or anything like that compared to the iPhone 14 Pro Max, but it has roughly the same body size, so it has roughly the same battery size that doesn't need to power all those other features. So 26 hours. I'm very excited by that. I think the one spec of all the things we're going to talk about today, of all the things that any phone company does, the single spec that matters most is battery life. I've said this before, phones of all sorts are just turning into tools. It's like a hammer that I buy. I know the features it has. It's now my camera. It's my messaging service. It's my bill payer, stuff like that. What I need it to do is to work. And if I have to worry about the battery life, doesn't matter the other cool stuff it can do. Battery life, number one. I am so excited by that. That's like over 3 days of 8-hour work days worth of battery life. 20 hours for the iPhone 14. Again, I'm not sure that the iPhone 14 is necessarily the one to get. 21% more screen. The iPhone 14 Plus has a supersized Super Retina XDR display. Now, it doesn't have ProMotion or anything like that compared to the Pro and the Pro Max version. So if that's something, if you need that fast refresh rate, you'll have to go with those bigger phones. But I think it's like a standard phone that lasts the longest, has the best tech. The iPhone 14 Plus is really, really the one. You can see OLED technology, True Tone. The cameras on here actually look incredible. It has a new main camera and it's got an improved image signal processor. We see that every year. The image signal processor gets improved by Apple every year. It's not like a whole new feature. Apple doesn't have the camera tech specs on here. We'll talk about those more in a second. So we'll focus more on features right now. One of the cool features that they did show off during the presentation is something that they're calling action mode. Here, you can check it out right here. What this does is it's going to take the image from the phone and it's going to digitally crop it in using the accelerometer, the gyroscope, things like that. And it's going to digitally stabilize it while you're using it, kind of like a handheld gimbal. What this really looks like, if you've used a modern action camera like a GoPro, GoPros have fantastic image stabilization that does something very similar to this. So it's almost like Apple has taken what GoPro has done and put it into their iPhone. And if it works as well as a GoPro works, we may no longer need gimbals. I mean, no kidding, it works really well. One of the ways that this image stabilization works is it kind of needs a faster shutter speed, so it gathers in more information and more information. That could make the image look a little jerkier. We'll have to see how this actually works when we're in regular light or low light situations. Sometimes GoPros have an issue with that. So we'll have to see if Apple was able to overcome that. But I think that's actually a useful feature as opposed to something like cinematic mode, which was fun, it was cool. I'm not sure that it was ever the most useful, but they did add some new features to cinematic mode, where cinematic mode used to be a 30 frames per second at 1080p. Now it can record in 4K at 24 frames per second. I guarantee if you are not a camera snob, you probably don't know or have noticed what frames per second your favorite YouTuber shoots their videos in. So it's cool that it's there, but it's more for filmmakers than like YouTubers. They also added in some new autofocus settings for the true depth camera in the front, which I think is pretty good. That will make sure that our selfies are in focus more often. 38% better at light gathering for that front-facing selfie. And one of the things, they didn't show it on here, probably because they're not trying to draw attention to it, but the iPhone 14 Plus and the iPhone 14 will have the A15 chip from last year. So they're using the same processor as last year. I know there was a bunch of folks on Twitter angry about that. It doesn't bother me that much because the A15 was already so far forward from what the competition can do. Why not reuse it and save some money? If it's still going to power all these cool new features that you want, I think you just stick with it. Yeah, we talked about the A15 Bionic with a 5-core GPU. Let's go over the tech specs to see if there was anything I missed, and let's discuss the actual technical specifications of the camera. We can get 128, 256 gigabyte or 512 gigabyte versions of the phone. The iPhone 14 Plus looks like it's only 30 grams heavier than the iPhone 14, that's pretty impressive. Display, we already talked about, 6.7-inch Super Retina XDR display. It is rated to IP68. So the main camera has a 26mm f1.5 aperture sensor shift optical image stabilization camera. Now that's the one that's been the good camera that Apple's put out recently. And they said they even increased how well their sensor shift optical image stabilization works. And that's just where the sensor itself moves around a little bit to give you that stabilization. But the ultra wide angle got a bit of an upgrade, with it being 13mm f2.4 and 120-degree field of view. I know a lot of folks would like to see the telephoto lens as opposed to the ultra wide, but I have fun with the ultra wide cameras on my iPhone, and I think that's a pretty great choice to go with. The iPhone 14 will start at $799. The iPhone 14 Plus will start at $899. We got the colors, and then the storage options, 256 for $999. 512 for $1199. Personally, I think 128 gigabytes is the perfect amount of storage for a cell phone. There is no need to upgrade these. So again, I would go, what color would I get? I'm probably gonna go Starlight this time around. So 128 gigabytes Starlight, and the iPhone 14 Plus is absolutely what I would buy. But what about you? What are you most excited about for the iPhone 14 Plus? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like this video and you're trying to save some money, click here to watch the video that I did talking about how the iPhone 13 is still the better buy than the iPhone 14. Click, 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 click. Thanks for watching.